Roxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining the Moana Nui podcast. We're very excited for today's episode, which we're going to talk about hula plus health is mind, body, and spirit in motion. So this is a very special episode that we're going to discuss that hula is just more than just a dance. It's deeply rooted in cultural practice that nourishes the mind, body, and spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and bring our lovely moderator for today's panel to the front. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her for our panelists to get ready to talk story of this awesome conversation for our panelists that have participated in the Merrie Monarch Festival. So I'm handing it over to you.
Mahalo, Dana. Aloha kākou. I work at Papaola Lokahi in the Hale Ho'ona'oao, or the Education and Training Hale. I am the Population Health Specialist for Chronic Disease, and I'm so happy to be sharing space with you folks today. Yes, so mahalo for joining our third episode of the Kupu'ola podcast. We're going to be talking with some great panelists, all Papaola Lokahi staff, which is cool. To have danced in the Merrie Monarch Festival and to have danced in the Kīpaepae Velina, or the welcome ceremony, or the opening ceremony, kalamai. And I would like to bring them on with me now, if that's okay. I guess, yeah, so we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. I can start first since I'm unmuted. I have been dancing hula since I was 5 years old with my kumu Pohai Suza hua. I recently uniki'd as an olapa in 2019 and continuing that kuleana of going through uniki again, coming up soon. So that's super exciting. While we don't compete, so I have not danced in Mele Manaka myself, I am so excited to learn more from my hoa about their experiences with Mele Manaka. So I will hand it off to Keawe first because you're right next to me. So just introduce yourself and yeah, mahalo.
Awesome. Well, Kavehi. My name is Keawe Parker. I'm the communication specialist over at Papaola Lokahi in the Haleolono department. I dabbled in hula in high school my senior year. I was super nervous and awkward in my body. And more than a decade later, I wanted to return to that and connect and give it another shot. So I started dancing for Hi'iaka i Nā Makalehua and Kumukiano Kaupu. So yeah, thank you for having me.
And then I'll just pass it to Momi because you're right next to Keawe.
Mai kākou. My name is Mami Tolentino, and I work with Keawe in Haleolono, or the Corporate Communications Division, and so excited to be here today for this podcast episode. I love all the little fancy intro things that are happening, so really awesome to be here. I began dancing at the age of 2, mostly in Polynesian dance. My family is a family of entertainers, so we did a lot of private shows, luau's, those kinds of things. But it wasn't until I began at Kamehameha schools in the 7th grade that I kind of found this profound interest to break out of Polynesian dance and really return to my roots in a more intentional and also within the school, like that kind of hula. I grew up doing house blessings and blessing establishments or ohana through that kind of protocol to Pele spaces but it wasn't until I attended Kamehameha in the 7th grade, was able to dance under some amazing kumu hula, Tatiana Seyu, as well as she's Tatiana Fox and Kumu Kaleo Trinidad were both my kumu when I was at Kamehameha schools, and they really instilled a different type of aloha for hula that I was able to kind of carry through. And then in 2016, my senior year, I joined Hula Hālau o Kamuela, and that's kind of where I really had that very hālau-centered experience to dance hula, which eventually led me to being able to have the privilege of attending Merrie Monarch and performing on stage. So hula, I know, is a big part of all of our lives, and I'm really grateful that it has brought us all together. And then I will pass it over to Kaika.
Aloha mai kako. My name's Ikaika. Yeah, this is such a great introduction feel that all of us are able to share. So I never danced as a child. I wish I did. I think it's one of those things where I was always a fan of Merrie Monarch. I remember always getting excited in April, just that it was like 'tis the season, right? That it's upon us yet again. And then I left after graduation and I moved to the continent and I was living on the continent for about 15 years. And I think as I moved out east, it really yearned for more mea Hawaii kind and specifically hula and a little bit of Wodakadashimas. Like I wish I did dance hula. Maybe I can find a hālau now. And ultimately, when I moved in 2018, I kind of that around. Let me find a hālau that was the best fit for me. And I was kind of hemming about what that would look like. Although I had kind of dabbled then, I ultimately landed with Halau Uno Keahi under Ka'o that's based out of on Hawaii Island, which is important to note because myself and my hula sister, who will go next, we both live on Oahu. So just being able to navigate how do we actually engage in practice while living on an island that is not where the halau is, how do we continue to malama that? And so we're excited to be here. Passing it off to you, Lillian.
Yeah. Yeah. So also like Ikaika, I did not grow up dancing. Now I really wish I had because joining hula at an older, more mature age is real rough. It's real rough on the body. But I began dancing I think about 8 years ago when I went to do the Hawaii Lifestyles program at Hawaii Community College in Hilo. So like I said, I didn't grow up dancing. I lived actually primarily on the continent as I was growing up and coming back and forth to Hawaii in the summers and winter break. So, and then in Hawaii, in the continent for another, I don't know, 10, 15 years after that as well. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity to be able to connect to Hawaiian culture or dancing in the areas that that I lived in on the continent. There were no other Hawaiians anywhere. And so when I finally moved home to Hawaii, dancing was something that I really wanted to get connected with. And it still took me a little bit to figure out how to get connected. And the first opportunity that really presented itself was through the Hawaii Lifestyles program at Hawaii Community College under Pele, under the Unu Kupu Kupu kind of movement, I guess I'll call it, which was developed by Ro and several other practitioners that created the program there. And then I danced for maybe about 1 year and then got a little bit more involved in grad school and things got busy and moved to Oahu. And then it was kind of difficult from there. But as Kaika mentioned, there became an opportunity for us to join a halau unu kiahi under Kumukao virtually. And because I'm from Hilo, my ohana is from Hilo. Hilo is an anchor point for me, being able to remain connected to a halau in Hilo that is connected to the same lineage as the Unu Kupu Kupu. It was really meaningful for me to be able to stay connected and continue to learn from that source. And so I'm really grateful that we were able to even learn online. And I'm even more grateful for my hula sibling right here because he's really good and he helps me a lot, especially being a Zoom haumana, a Zoom student. Yeah, I'm right left challenged, so all the things. But yeah, really grateful for the opportunity to still remain connected. Mahalo.
So beautiful. Mahalo kako for sharing your mo'olelo or your story and introducing yourselves. I want to maybe take a little bit of a step back. For those that don't know, Mele Manaka, also Merrie Monarch, is an annual competition that happens with the most prestigious hālau. And I just, like Ikaika mentioned, it's just a competition and every year it comes around and I'm just always so excited to just sit at home at my TV. But this year I get to go in person and I'm so excited. So let's kind of just jump into the Ninau or the questions that I have for us today. The first kind of set of questions are looking at hula and health as a holistic thing. So just to open this space and to get us all kind of grounded, I want us to talk about what does hula mean to you? I know that's a very huge question and we can talk about it for hours being hula people. I know hula means so much. I mean, I believe hula is life. And that's kind of where I'm going to say for my answer to that question is that just hula is life and it's everything. It's our connection to kupuna. It's our connection to aina. ancestors, land, vai, water, everything. So I guess if we want to just continue to go down the panel, or whoever wants to go first can go, and we can just answer this beautiful ni now. Yeah. Who wants to go?
So I can start. So I was in preparation. I was like trying to get my thoughts down around some of these some of these questions. So I think originally I kind of was like hula is like dance and like all of these other things, but I think if I take a step back, I think hula, what I wrote was like, I think hula is the ritual practice of reciprocation between Kanaka and our akua, right? So it is this reciprocal practice, this ritualistic practice around what we do as Kanaka as people and this environmental world, right? All the multitudes of our akua, all the other ways in which these life-giving forces, right? So I think it's spiritual ritual. I think it's very much this relationship and offering, whether it's our leo, our voice, our chanting, our emotions, our sweat sometimes, right? Let's be honest, sometimes it's our blood and our tears, right? But offering all of those things, I think, is in service of the stewardship of our aina and our like life spaces, right? And I think in that, I think it's the continued growth of our people via our continued growth of our culture and the continued growth of our sort of like our life ways and our life-giving forces. So I think, yes, I think it's this reciprocal practice that can look like dance, but is included of many other elements of, I think, what I would call hula.
Beautifully put. I love that. It's that reciprocation of poe, aina, vai, everything. Okay, who wants to go next?
I can go next. To me, I think as a baby hula dancer, I feel like when I joined again a few years ago, I joined with the intention of connecting to culture in a way that connects me to other Kanaka and other people. And so to me, hula has been sort of like a glue in like, where do I fit and where do I belong? I feel like my connection to culture my connection to culture started much later. I feel like I didn't grow up dancing. I didn't grow up speaking olalo. I didn't grow up in the lo'i. So this connection and awareness to culture, puna, aina, has started later in life for me. So when I joined Hi'iaka, I like found a community of brothers and sisters that like loved and communicated in a way that is only specific to hula and hula dancers. Like I'm trying to figure out a better way to articulate that, but I feel like everybody in this panel knows what that means. So yeah, for me, it's a glue. It's a glue between our people.
I feel like I'm just gonna keep saying beautifully said, because I love that. I wouldn't trade my hula sisters for the world. I mean, they keep you humble, right? They keep you grounded and everything. Yeah. Okay, Momi or Lily Noi.
I can go. I think I didn't when I was younger. When you're young, you don't really know the value of things. And so I remember going around doing blessings. We danced hula, we did oli, we carried around like an umeke filled with kukui. There were a lot of kind of different things that I was doing that I didn't realize was ike kupuna. And so growing up and recognizing that part of my life and kind of taking it for granted and not realizing the power of it made me sad. But I think a part of that is we're just rediscovering that as you get older in different ways, in different spaces. And one thing that I'm really grateful about is that I always envision it so close to how our kupuna did and so close to how our ancestors did, and Laka and Hi'iaka, Ikabali, Pele, all of these great deities. I feel like that makes me really emotional, and it's an honor. It's an honor to carry out this legacy. It's an honor to do the same hula that they did back then or different renditions of it. And so I feel very empowered when I dance hula to walk in the same footsteps that our kupuna did, that our akua did. And I don't think anybody outside of Hawaii or without a real strong foundation and the understanding of hula can really understand that spiritual connection that is really inherent when you do hula. And then kind of outside of that, because I don't think that's everything. Hula can be fun. Hula can be light. It doesn't always have to be so like Michael Pohl, it can also be in the light. And so I think hula is a great way for me to stay active. I really love that aspect of hula and just keeping myself kind of nimble. But yeah, as you get older, the knees stop working, everything stops working. So kind of in this modern day when we don't always have those open lines of connection with Akua or Kupuna and all the Po'emaika Wakahiko or the people from before us, having hula as kind of like a consistent thread for the most part, outside of it not being a thing in some parts of our history, I think that is really what can bring us together as Kanaka and can be a place for people who are just trying to find what their interests are and who they are as Kanaka and what is comfortable for them or what breathes life back into their own lives. So really grateful for hula and grateful that this is a shared experience that we can all speak on.
Yep, totally. It's that grounding, the connection to Akua, and right, we're walking this line between Hawaii and Western world, and I think hula helps to tie you back to that Hawaii, right? It helps you to bring back home and connect with your kupuna and our Akua. Lilinoy, you want to finish us off with this, Nino?
Yeah, sure. I guess I kind of view, and it might sound a little bit similar to Ikaika's too, because I think it's a lot of, for us, especially in our practice, it's a lot about ritualized practice and breathing life into kind of these different ka'au, these different stories that have been down through generations. And for me, like that's something that I really connected to when I first started dancing. And so just a little background on me, I'm in recovery, I'm on my healing journey. And so hula became source of healing for me, a source of, like Kiave said, right, that bonding of your like hula siblings, your ohana, right? That that was those were really important relationships. I didn't follow kind of traditional 12-step kind of recovery pathways, and so having that bond was really important to me. And then being able to bring these stories to life that have been passed down through the generations, because also it's not just hula, right? It's oli too. So we're chanting, we're the conduit for this story. And it's this connection, right? We're reaching back through space and time really to our ancestors that have shared these stories. They observed the world around them and they provided this knowledge for the future generations through the mo'olelo, through our mythological stories, through the hula, and through our chants. And so being able to connect to that was like, it's like a history lesson, mythology lesson, like somatic therapy through chanting. It's like all of these different areas of health and connection kind of all woven into one just awesome sauce. And that it's awesome. What can I say? It's awesome. And even through the blood, sweat, and tears and the feelings of whatever, I still wouldn't trade it for anything. I love halal. Even when my body is just giving up, I still love halal.
Oh, beautiful. Again, see, I'm just going to keep saying that after each answer. It's just, I love that you said we're the conduit, right, of our kupuna and our ancestors, and we're funneling their energies to present these oli or these hula. And just so beautiful. I know our next question is asking about how does hula benefit you, but I think we already talked about that, right? It's connection to people, aina, vai, all the things, cultural connection, ancestors, all the things. So and it's hard, right? It's a great workout. After Uniki practice, I can't walk after for 3 days. So it's a great workout. That's how it benefits us. So I think we can move on to the next question of getting into the nitty gritty of mele manaka and kipai, right? Like, how do you condition your body for these long performances, competitions, ceremonies like mele manaka or kipai? When do you start training? How long in advance are you doing all the things? And I mean, this is just conditioning. I know that there's a whole other list of mea that you need to get done, right? Collecting your flowers, your fern, all the things to make your lei and your costumes. all the things. So whoever wants to go first to start us off, maybe do we want to have our Mele Manaka peeps go first and then our Kīpaepae, or do we want our Kīpaepae peeps to go first and then our Mele Manaka? Up to you guys. You guys run the show.
Um, I can go first since I am in the thick of Mele Manaka prep for that. But I am really excited to hear more about the Kīpae because I think it doesn't get as much hype as it should because it is the opening ceremony. But as someone who hasn't been able to experience that and has been only in kind of the Mele Manaka prep, my first year I started dancing with Hula Hula Okamuela in 2016, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to dance my first year. So that was really nuts and crazy. And since then, and after returning back from college, I was able to compete in 2023, 2024, and now 2025. And so all of the journeys were very different. And some were a lot tougher than others. Some felt our group was really pa'a, others not so much. And so I think there are obviously a lot of factors that come into the preparation stage. But like my kumu always says, your preparation for Merrie Monarch is year round. Your foundation in coming to classes all year, to mastering your basics, those are not things that are taught in Merrie Monarch practice. Those are things that you need to already know so that when we can get to these more longer practices, you're able to kind of then build on top of that kahua. And so it's for girls who this is their first year, they recognize that the importance of being able to know your right from your left and this 45 and that 45 and what your body should be trained to do before you get to Merrie Monarch practice, because that is kind of when the level kind of starts to heighten and you're kind of doing a lot more things that you wouldn't do in a regular practice. The hours are longer, you're doing things in just such a different fashion that it really guides you on this self-reflection journey. Should I be working harder during the year? Where is my kahua? Where is my foundation in hula? And then also the exploratory side when you get your themes or your mo'olelo for your awana or your kahiko. Where do you know where to do research? Do you have resources? Can you seek those out? Are those things that you have access to, or maybe you need to do a little bit more discovering? And so I know every hālau is different. Some are a little bit more independent, and these journeys are for the olapa. Others have that already built into the lineage of their hālau. There's hālau that have really deep histories that when they do go to Merrie Monarch, like they're able to have those sit down sessions and those kinds of things. So not only is it physically demanding, it's also emotionally demanding, spiritually demanding, financially demanding. But I think, yes, building in terms of the physical part, really building up your ability to know your foundational steps during the year is something that is really emphasized within our hālau specifically. And that is also with oli, because I think oli is something that sometimes gets lost if that's not kind of in the forefront or if that's not part of every practice protocol. And so really finding your voice in the Merrie Monarch process, I think, is something, and how the voices mesh with all the new girls that come in or the new kane that come in. It's always you're in class together, but then really coming together to mold everybody's strengths and weaknesses. Mo always says you're only as strong as your weakest dancer, and not that anybody wants to be the weakest dancer, and everybody has strengths and weaknesses. It's not only about one person. It's about everybody coming together and really pushing themselves. And I think you also see a range of ages. There's people who are in their 40s, and then there's people who just finished Keiki Hula the year before. So to be able to then get everybody on the same physicality and athleticism that it takes to do certain numbers is something that you're working on for months, and then kind of adding on those other layers of oli. How do you behave when you go to Merrie Monarch? Now it's where to pick things to put together costumes and those kinds of things. So it is a learning curve. The learning curve is really steep. And so to be able to be strong in your basics and your foundational steps to then build on that and get better as a dancer, you really do come out of Merrie Monarch senior. You're just working really hard, but also more knowledgeable. You know so much more about your mo'olelo, the mo'olelo that you're sharing with other people, but also the other halal that are around. You learn so much when you're at Mele Manaka and you're watching these captivating and like enthralling performances by all the other halal where you can see the hard work that they put in as well. So yeah, sorry, that's not kind long, but
Perfect. Kiave, you wanna go?
Yeah, so I've only ever been to Malamanaka once in 2023, and it was my first year dancing. So I feel you, Momi, when it's your first year, not only dancing, but it's also your first year getting thrown into Malamanaka. It is a lot. I think in terms of a technical like preparation, like I was very grateful that my kumu started months before started like actual Melimanaka performance preparation months before the competition from like beyond the technical. I think really great preparation connected to what I was saying earlier about glue is like building those relationships with your hula brothers and sisters and learning how to exist with one another, bond with one another, communicate with one another. Because once you're in hula preparation, it's a whole different animal, and there are like you really learn how to lean on your hula brothers and sisters throughout the entire process. And I would say like the other preparation is learning how to go with the flow and because sometimes your whole ka'i and hoi could look like one thing one day, and the next practice, Kumu's like, all right, we're changing the whole thing. And we're like, Kumu, we are 2 weeks out. Just as an example of what could happen. And then you just got to roll with it and you just got to take it and not be so rigid in the process. And so, yeah, leaning on your hula brothers and sisters for sure.
Totally. Yes. That's what from you and Momi, or yes, Kiave and Momi, it's like learning to grow as an olapa individually, and then also as with your hula sisters and your hula brothers, like that whole growth process throughout Mele Manaka. I feel like that, yeah, you need those connections, right, to get through such a prestigious event. And there's so much eyes looking at you, right? There's so many eyes and everything. Yeah, mahalo for sharing that. Kaika and Lily, know you guys want to talk about Kīpaepae? I'm so interested. I want to know all the things.
Okay, I'll go. Let's see. We've done Kīpaepae. I think we've been in this hālau 5 years now, right? We've done it 5 times, 4 times. This might be our 5th time, right? With this hālau, I think. Ikaika will correct me when he comes back on. So anyways, and then I did Kīpaepae once when I was with Unu Kupu Kupu also. And so I think Kīpaepae has been probably one of the most impactful opportunities for me or things to be connected with because of the like deep ceremony that's involved with it. I think our halal doesn't compete but Kīpaepae and a lot of the things that our halal does is strictly ceremonial, right? We dance for different ceremonies, for different ahas and things like that. But for Kīpaepae, it's a ceremony that involves all of the Unu Kupu Kupu family. So Unu Kupu Kupu is like a lineage of hula that has several, and you'll kind of know which halals belong to the Unu Kupu Kupu lineage because they all have the word unu in them, like ours, unu o kiahi, right? So they're now like I think when I did it when I was like 8 years ago when I was in Unu Kupu Kupu, there was I don't even remember. Maybe there's 4 halals, 4 or 5 halals. Now there's I don't know, tons. There's tons. We fill the civic. It's full. And it's really cool to see kind of the growth of all of these different halals. If I'm talking about the physical, I realize that totally wasn't the question and it was about the physical aspects of prepping for Kīpaepae. I mean, honestly, could you ever though? Like we dance, I think we like 15 hula or something, right? Like it's a lot of hula. It is a lot of hula and it's bombastic. Our style is aiha'a, so it's very low and very bombastic movements. That's a word I learned in hula because that is the best way to describe how all of our hula are. And so it takes a lot of stamina and don't know that I ever fully am prepped for that. And I think one of the beautiful things of when you're like going into ceremony is that it's like you are transported to another realm, and you don't realize that you are exhausted. You just keep going. Like when I share that you become the conduit for this story, like you truly become the conduit and you are there for that, right? So you just keep going and going. And at the end, it may all come back to you. You realize just how exhausted you are. But when you're actually in there in the moment, you just go. I will say that the other kind of preparations for the a'ahu, or your like what you wear for the kīpaepae, our kumu is very elaborate. She with her a'ahu. They're gorgeous. They're always gorgeous. She has great ideas. And what I love is that the a'ahu that we're creating for what we wear in this kīpaepae ceremony, every single piece of it has a meaning. There's a reason why we go to pick a certain flower or lau or leaf or anything, whatever it is that we're using in our leis, on our head, on our pe'e. We have several kupe'e sometimes. We will have whatever we make for our skirt. Every single thing has a meaning, and we have to make every single thing ourselves. So it takes a lot of preparation, and especially as students being on Zoom, we often have to fly over to Hilo to begin that preparation quite early for making that stuff. It takes days. We're also team no sleep during that time, trying to prepare our bodies, our spirits, all of our things for that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually about to head on a flight in about 6 hours to fly to Hilo. It's to start some of that preparation and then fly back to Oahu. And we do what you need to do, right, to prepare, I think. I think what a little bit of what everyone was saying, I think what came to mind for me was like a lot of times in hula, because it's ritualistic, and I think in what Lilina was saying, because Kīpaepae is specifically very ritualistic, one is I always like to think about the Kīpaepae as it's a ritual that people get to see versus we're performing for the akua, right? We're performing for the kuahu. We're doing all of that for that, and then just so happen people can see, right? And I think that's what I love about it is that we get to kind of peel back the figurative curtain for people in terms of what that might look like. But I think when I think about two things, I think when I think about the preparation and the blood, sweat, and tears, all the hana, all the work that goes into everything, I think of any time that we do something ritualistic, there's always an uku, there's always a price that you pay, right? And part of that price might look like the research that you do. Part of that price looks like all of the work and the blood and sweat and tears that you put in, right? It's understanding all of those things, right? That's the price you pay for the ceremony, and that's our offering towards that. And then the other thing that I think Lynn and I really touched on that I think was cool, I think with regards to that research or learning about all the things that we're doing, all the different hula that we're doing, it is also about trying to fully understand, at least to the best of your ability, like what you're trying to embody, right? And so an example being like a lot of people started to learn or was able to perform right because of what was happening at Mauna Kea, right? That's a great example of Aikumumu, at least how we were taught, right? Like it's a hula ki'i. You become the Pele, right? You're creating that heat within you and that channeling of it through your body as a practitioner, right? And then a lot of times after Aikumumu is kukulukupahu, right? Like this like receding of ourselves to honor sort of the what happens after the Pele comes in, right? And I think we can see some of that energy not only in the dancer, and then just because it's happening or just happened, right? We see the Pele erupting on Hawaii Island, and we can see that motion of the Pele coming up, right? And that fierceness that I think draws many crowds in to look at the actual Pele, but then I think the beautiful thing is we as olapa, as practitioners, we can also be the Pele, right? We can also be those things. So I think it's also about getting ourselves into that mindset and that sort of spiritual and energetic space to be able to bring that forward, right? That is again part of that reciprocation that I think we have to the akua and to these like life-giving forces, right?
Beautifully said. Yes. And also I think too, just what was coming to my mind is like all of or your folks mo'olelo is so different just because it's your own experience, but it's also so similar, right? It's that blood, sweat, and tears that you're putting in. It's your time, it's your commitment. Your ohana are having to understand this, right? Because I get it. Like when I was going through Uniki, that's all day practice. Sorry guys, I'm not home. Like you can't book anything on that day. I'm booked. And also it's that kapu, right? It's going on kapu, or beyond that, it's knowing that the hula that you are dancing are kapu, and just not anybody can do it. And you do your research and all the things. I'm rambling now, but I just love hearing all of your mo'olelo, and I'm so inspired. And oh, you guys are so awesome. But let's move on to the next page, the next ninao. Oh my goodness. I want to get into the nitty gritty of Mele Manaka, because as in Olapa, but not being able to dance at Merrie Monarch it's so crazy to think of. You see the olapa all lined up and waiting to enter that stage. Or even Kīpaepae. I mean, you see everybody in the stadium and dancing at one time. It's so beautiful. It's chicken skin. I just want to know, what are you feeling when you are about to step into that stadium or step onto the Mele Manaka stage? Like the stage. What are you feeling? I think we want to start off with Keawe. So, what is your experience of stepping onto that prestigious stage?
Where do I even begin? So first of all, I think so. Our hālau flew up a week before the competition and had scheduled stage practices at the stage throughout the week prior to the competition. And I remember the first time I stepped on that stage, I was like, one, it's a lot smaller than it looks on TV. You like expect this like huge, expansive like space, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I can do this. But then you start dancing. At least for me, like my first week on that stage, I was pretty rough. I was making mistakes I had never made throughout the entire like preparation season months prior, and I was like shaken up. And a huge part of it was like, if you wanted to know, like I'll say it off the record, was like some uhane type activity happening, but also just to go from smaller studio to practicing out of elementary school cafeteria to just like beyond the stage, the Melmanaka stage, but the entire stadium itself. The sound bounces off in different ways, and your kumu's voice bounces off in different ways, and the ipu. And if you have implements, which we did, which were super loud, we had the kala'au. It was all really disorienting, and I was messing up in ways that I had never messed up before, and but throughout the prep, like because of the preparation and because of that whole week that we had, when it was time to like actually get up and perform, I hope I don't get in trouble from my kumu for saying this, but I blacked out for both performances, especially the first night is the Kahiko one, and I think I was like aware of like 25% of what I was doing, and everything else was just like autopilot. And for the Awana, like I was much more aware of what was happening, because I was like, okay, like I get it now. Like it's all in all, it is a beautiful, amazing experience, because there's really nothing like dancing and exchanging energy between you and your kumu, you and your hula brothers, or your hula sisters, but also exchanging energy with the entire stadium and the crowd and the people, and feeding off of each other. And it's like a dance between you and your hālau and the audience. Because yeah, it's amazing how much that energy can fuel you for the performance. And yeah, and it was amazing. I'm super grateful that I had that opportunity to dance and have that energetic conversation.
Nice. Mommy, you want to go?
Yes, pretty much ditto to everything Keawe said. It's really just kind of a culmination of what starts at Kīpaepae and kind of moves along through the week to Mele Manaka. I love hearing about Kīpaepae, because I think even though we all dance hula, I think there are such different pockets that we sit in that you just can learn so much about it. And so I think from my experience specifically of stepping on the Merrie Monarch stage, we do our one stage practice the week of Merrie Monarch. My kumu believes in saving money. So we try not to make extra trips. So we go up one time and we have our stage practice. And yeah, every year looks different. I know my first year I kind of was like, oh my gosh. But I am like super type A and I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm always just try to tune in, lock in. But I think as I've become one of the older girls, I try to be really put in my spots and where I'm supposed to be, and then to be able to help the younger girls who maybe it's their first time, or even older girls who it's their first time, really just ease the nerves. I think the stage practice is to definitely prime you for prime time when you're on stage and on television. And yeah, again, it just goes by so fast. Like you can have a 7-minute kahiko and you get off, you're like, oh my gosh, did I just do that? It's amazing. It's amazing to not only connect with everybody who's on stage, your kumuhula and those kinds of things, but also then to see the court in the corner and to recognize that at the end of the day, we're here to honor Kalakaua and all the ali'i that came before us, to really have that in reverence. And yeah, it's also really awesome to see people who are there for their first time, because it's really just like super exhilarating. So really excited for you, Kavehi, to be there in person for the first time and be able to see everything up front and all up in your face. It is different, yes. The sounds that you have, and you don't know until you actually come to your performance time that the oli is going to sound different. Your projection needs to change. Lines are very important. The camera guy likes to pick out every formation that is off. So you have to always be on. And so I think there's a lot of that precision that happens before Merrie Monarch that is kind of something that you then have to bring to the stage and then have this presentation for everybody. But yeah, it's a feeling like no other. I think the whole festival from Sunday all the way to the next day, the next Sunday when you wake up, is just a whirlwind of emotions. And you really have to root yourself into the ground and into your practices, into the mo'olelo that you're sharing, to make sure that when you get on the stage that, and I don't even think that it's to have a flawless one, but I think you tell the story the best when everybody is together, when everybody is as one. And that is the aim for our hālau specifically, to just work as one. You're not just one person. You are the whole vessel as a hālau, and you are carrying a very important message and a very important mo'olelo to share out with you. But yes, lots of bright lights kind of happens and then it's done. You're like, oh my gosh. Then you have to go back to practice right after for the next day. So yeah, really awesome. Mahalo.
No, mahalo, Momi and Kiave. I know. I'm so excited to be in the stadium and feel all that mana of between the hālau and the audience, and because you're in a place where hula is so appreciated, right? No one there is gonna get tickets, well, I would hope not, if they don't care about hula. So we're all kind of in that same va'a. And like you said, Momi, like it's the whole hālau, right? You're not an individual. You're there to represent your kumu, and you're there with your hula sisters or your hula brothers, and you're all in this boat together. It's not just you. Everybody's journey. I got a note right here that I should explain what the Kīpaepae is and then what Mele Manaka is. So Kīpaepae is the opening ceremony on Sunday. I think our Hoa Ikaika and Lilinoi can explain it better, but it's the opening ceremony on Easter Sunday. And then Wednesday is Hoike night. Thursday is Miss Aloha Hula. Friday is Kahiko night. And then Saturday is Awana. So that is kind of the little gist. But Kaika, do you want to share about Kīpaepae and how it feels to be in that space?
Yeah. So Kīpaepae is the opening ceremony. It happens in gymnasium. I don't know what's it called. That big open thing, but not the place where the actual competition is, like next door where the craft fair is. And as Lilinoi said, it's the Unuverse, as we like to call ourselves, like all the different Unus, all the different hālau, afuk, yes, mahalo. And I think because our hula tradition is also, we have ku'ahu, like we dance in front of a ku'ahu, so it is also about making sure that the ku'ahu or the ku'ahu hula, the hula altar, is tended to, right? So that means bringing in laka, right? That means bringing in all these different leis for the specific plants or flowers that need to be there, the different oli that we need to do. So it has a lot of those ceremonial aspects to it. And then our various kumu and their kumu, who is Tapuri Tangaro, put together what the different mele, what the different hula sets, what the different hula we're actually going to be doing. And that's what goes out to all the universe, and then the different kumu hula make sure that their hamana who are going to be dancing are prepared for that, right? And so it ends up being, I think I counted last, it's 3 or 4 sets. And in each set is anywhere between 5 to 7 hula. So it ends up being anywhere from like 15 to 20 something hula that we may not be dancing to all of them, but you might be dancing to one within that set. You might be dancing to all of them, but the whole set, once it's started, runs from start to finish. So it's about 3 to 5 hula back to back, and they're usually thematic, right? Whether they are in about an ali'i or a specific akua or pele. And so I think because a lot of our hula stems from the Pele traditions, I think stepping out onto the floor, right, and even the preparation, like I was saying before, is that embodiment. So I can think of last year when we were dancing, when the poo starts and the pohu starts, like I think the imagery that they gave us was they wanted us to come in like the Pele, like we needed to roll in, we needed to flow in, and as we did our hula, and once the Kīpaepae is finished and the ku'ahu leaves, once that last oli starts, like we recede like the Pele, like we leave, and so I think it's that preparation for the entering into ritual, that embodiment of who we need to embody or what we need to embody, and what kuleana we're carrying. I think in all, like what Momi and Kathy have been saying, right? Like in all the different ways in which our hālau are carrying that kuleana, being able to carry that in ourselves and within how we maneuver, how we move. And that also includes, like, at the very end, right? If there is kinolau or like the bodily form of our akua that tends to be our lei or our adornments, if they're on the floor, the expectation is that we're picking that up too, right? Because we need to treat our akua in the utmost regard, and they need to go back to aina. And so just, I think, making sure that we ourselves, not only our bodies are prepared to do those sets, but also that we know what everyone else is saying, what we're there for, from start to finish, from the first minute until we leave, right? And even after we leave, to take our lei and everything and return that back to the aina or to the kai, because that does not go in the trash, or all of our things need to be disposed of or given back in a proper way, because they, like everything in Mea Hawaii, it is all spiritual all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow that. That was very in-depth and amazing. Mahalo, Ikaika. I don't really have a lot to add to that question, but I think just the only thing I would share additionally, I guess, is I know that we are also making sure that we're taking care of our space too. We're making sure that we don't invite any kind of entanglement or arguments into, like, with any family members or anything like that. We're not speaking any kind of ill intent. We're always kind of making sure that intentions are good throughout that entire time, kind of leading up to it, to prepare ourselves just to be as ready to be that conduit again for that story. We do cleansing usually afterwards, a kapukai, or that cleansing in the salt water. We often do it before also. We always do it after to kind of also to cleanse ourselves, to be prepared to re-enter the world. I think also on the emotional side, I would also add that, like, one of the reasons why I'm so, like, Kīpaepae stands out to me throughout the year is it is incredibly emotional to be in a space with that collective intention of so many people that it's an overwhelming energy, but in the best possible way, if that makes sense. And to have that focused energy that is intent on feeding the ku'ahu that Ikaiko was mentioning, right? We're providing that sustenance, right, of our dance, of our oli, of the lei and the things that we're providing. And there are people that are they're carrying, they're malamaing, they're caring for these different spaces, the kuahu or any ki'i. So I think last year they brought in these really amazing ki'i that were created, or not statue, but it's like a form, kind of a form, head form situation. And they, at every point, there is someone that is going to care for these different pieces, because each part is intentional in this ritual, right? In this opening of the kuahu, which sets again the intention for the Merrie Monarch stage, because we want that intention to go out onto the Merrie Monarch stage to help to feed all of the dancers in that space as they take on that energy and become the conduit for the mele, for the dances that they're sharing with the world, right? And I just, yeah, I love it so much because of those ritualistic aspects. And but I always tell people when they talk about being really nervous about going into Kīpaepae, and I tell them that, look, like, I'm not the best dancer in the world, but the what comes over you in that time when you go into that ritualistic space and you become that conduit, you're not focused on those little things like, oh, I messed up that, oh, I messed up that. It's not there. You are in that space and you are giving all that you have to serve, to be that conduit or to provide that sustenance for that ritualistic practice that you're doing.
Beautifully said. Again, just keep saying that's the word of this, or that's the thing of this podcast. It's just beautifully said. Everything. Yeah, it's that. I think it's that dualism too, right? So you folks are opening it. It's that kapu-ness of that ceremony, so that you can open that space for the Mele Manaka dancers, Keawe and Momi. It's like for your hālau to then embody our akua and our kupuna and our mo'olelo and all the things, to show that to the world of, we are hula dancers, we are olapa, we are Hawaii. It's like all the things. Beautiful. I know we're running out of time. We just hit the hour. So do we want to do closing statements? If not, I can wrap us up with our promote the upcoming events. Do you want to do, okay, no. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Do we want to share one word of what hula means to you? Just one word. I know that's hard. I'm going to say life. There you go. That's my word.
I'll say source.
Beautiful.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you 2 words. Ho'olulahui.
Beautiful.
I'll say
Oh,
healing.
healing. Nice.
I'll say connection, but I also was thinking commitment.
That's a fabulous word. Commitment. Yes. Mahalo kako. I just want to mahalo you guys for sharing your mo'olelo and being so open to talking about your experiences with Mele Manaka and Kīpaepae. I know we have some folks who have to jump off because they have meetings. Yes, I know. I see the need now. So for Kanaka located on the continent, what recommendations do you have to start hula journey, to connect to culture, but also for our health? I know through the hālau program that Papa'ola Lokahi is doing, we had to collect some resources, and from those resources there were some hālau. So I would recommend maybe on Facebook looking at like hālau near you that you can join or that you can connect with. Just getting your foot in that door and talking to a kumuhula can be a really great first step, I think. Does anyone else have any now or mo'olelo? Or oh yeah, reach out to civic clubs too. That's a great idea. Yeah, but yes, mahalo kako for joining me and for joining my fellow hoa here. Hālau Ohia might have some online resources. So, Hālau Ohia, you can look them up. And yes, so I just want to promote some upcoming things that we have going on. So we have the Mele Manaka coming up in April. So it's going to be April 20th through the 26th. The Kīpae will be on the 20th. And then all the other beautiful things going on in Hilo will be going on during that week. And Papa'ola Lokahi will actually be tabling. So we'll be at the Afuk Chinen Civic Auditorium all week at this craft fair. So come out if you're there, come and see us. If not, look for us on the beautiful TV, because Mele Manaka is streamed all across the world. So we hope to see you virtually there. But yes, mahalo nui for joining today. And I think we are done. So if Dana and Moana want to hop back on, mahalo kako.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation, but also for those like myself that's a Kanaka that's on the continent, hearing that perspective, because before we started, I was telling everybody of our panel, I'm like, I never got to attend Merrie Monarch when I lived on the island. And of course, definitely haven't attended since I've been on the continent. But it is one of those that is for that dream list of going to, because seeing it on streaming online is so powerful, and you could really feel that storytelling and that connection from everyone. But I know it's even more powerful in person, being in the feeling the energy from the audience, but also from the other dancers and the performances. I just know it's mind blowing. But I want to thank our panelists so much for taking some time out of your schedule to be part of this conversation. For those that are watching this on the recording or on the live stream, if you end up having questions that you think about it, definitely message us at Moana Nui Podcast is one word at gmail.com, and we'll be happy to pass it on to our panelists, because I know, especially if you grew up on the continent as a Kanaka, you don't have that connection, but also have that yearning to be connected to the culture, or especially if you're in an area of the continent that's not too many of us over here. It's one of those that you yearn for that connection, and finding out these resources can help you get connected to other Kanakas that are here and getting connected to the culture that you may have missed because you didn't grow up on the island. But any closing words or any way to follow any of our panelists that you want to share?
Not that I know of, but you can follow us on Instagram, Papaolalokahi. And then if you do have any questions, go to our website and we have our email over there that it can be forwarded to any of us. So yeah, just mahalo nui for joining and listening in.
Very nice. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely look out for other episodes that we're going to have throughout the year. Definitely like, subscribe, and hit that notification button for our partners and also for Moana Nui, so you can know about the episodes that are coming up, so you don't miss out on any of the conversations that we have with our various segments that we have for the show. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you have a great rest of your day and a lovely weekend, and we'll see you very soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Network out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it,